This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
This is Tyrone with God Is, and the inspiration of gospel music also on Rainier Avenue Radio .world. We give out free food each and every Saturday from 11 to 2. And so we want you to come on out and support us. We love on your community. And we also have a fish fry once a month. We want to raise funds, put back into the community. And so come on, support us. We need your love. And also, if you want to be connected with us, go to Rainier Avenue Radio .world, to the website, Facebook, Instagram, and God Is. And as God Is got a website, we need your help, community. So come on out and get your free food each and every Saturday it is. And so we asking for donation, whatever you feel to give from your heart to the mind. And as we're doing it right here for you, go to our website and touch love and give back. And so come on by 810 23rd Avenue, Rainier Avenue Radio .world, your community radio station and inspiration of all the things we do in your community.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at the local Filipino community, Phil-Am Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in, Phil-Am Radio every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Are you a cultural producer who has been impacted by the pandemic? Four Culture is offering relief grants between $1,000 and $12,000 to cover your COVID-related losses and help you move forward with your creative work. If you're creating cultural experiences in any discipline at any stage of your career, you should apply. Exhibit designers, museum educators, archivists, restoration professionals, curators, archaeologists, history researchers, artists, and more. That means you. Not sure if you're a fit? Give them a call and they'll talk you through it. The deadline to apply is Wednesday, February 2nd. Head to forculture.org/recovery to get information on virtual group workshops, application support, language translation, and more. That's forculture.org/recovery.
Rainier Avenue Radio .world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio .world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
Well, good evening once again. Monday Night Sports. I'm Dupe, and I hope you are enjoying this day as we celebrate the life, the legacy, the memory, the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And if you have been listening here on Rainier Avenue Radio, you know we were out earlier today covering the 40th annual, if you can believe it or not, 40 years, the MLK rally and march. And you heard a great program, some great speakers. And we'll talk a little bit more about Dr. King as we get into the show here a little bit later. A couple of reminders, keep it here because obviously following this show here is Lid Line with Granville, Pepe, and Lil O. So you don't want to turn the dial. You don't want to Granville sporting the LA Dodgers cap there. So you want to make sure to tune in for that. Also this Friday, doubleheader. You want to be right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And if you part of the reason you want to stay here for the our coverage of prep basketball is that right now, and understandably so, Seattle Public Schools not allowing fans to come into the games. And so this is your way to check out your baby. If your baby's playing, your grandbaby, your boo, whatever it is. And so at 7 o'clock, we'll be at Rainier Beach High School and West Seattle coming in to face Rainier Beach, the girls at 7 and the boys following that game, likely right around 8:30. So that is this Friday, and you can hear and see both of those games, obviously, are streaming format either on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. So make sure to check that out. Well, the Seahawks season is over. So no more focus on the Seahawks, but, and Twitter as well. Thank you, Daniel, and Twitter. See, y'all, I don't know. I'm not on social media, so, you got to help me out with all that kind of stuff. But anyway, the NFL season continues. And I apologize because we had teased that we were going to have Bob Condona on this evening and mix up in our schedules. And so he is scheduled to join us next week. And at that time, we're really going to kind of dive into, and he's going to be with us for the full show, for the full half hour. And we're going to dive into kind of what's going on with the Seahawks. What's the talk? Who's going where? Are there going to be big changes? Where, from his standpoint, being the beat writer covering the Seahawks, what changes do they need to make to get back into that upper echelon, the elite teams that are, competing for the Super Bowl, that are perennial year in, year out in the playoffs, which the Seahawks have been. Everyone's going to have a down year. And, I've said this all season long, the Seahawks, there's a lot of talent on this squad. This franchise, a great franchise, hearing the players talk about the franchise and just, a class act. So people want to be here. So I don't think the question is, can you attract, if you need to go out in the free agency, can you attract people? The question is, can you afford them? That's going to be the question. But anyway, Bob Condota will help us dive into that next week, and we'll focus on that. But I don't know if you saw the games yesterday, but interesting. So I don't know if any big surprises, other than we're going to go into the 49ers Cowboys game in just a minute, because a couple of things I want to look at the end of the game there. But the Bengals over the Raiders. Again, if you're a fan, you know this, but maybe not. Okay, Bengals beat the Raiders at 26-19. Bills, I'm not surprised that the Bills beat the Patriots, but they handled them 47-17. They handled them pretty easily. Buccaneers over the Eagles, 31-15 was 31-0, and Eagles got a couple scores, got a 2-point conversion. I will say this: I am a big Jalen Hurts fan, and I hope. Sounds like the Eagles are going to stick with him, but they have, I think, 3 first-round draft picks. So, are they going to draft a QB? That remains to be seen. But they've got some assets there. So, are they going to build around him? It can be interesting to see. And Chiefs, I don't think any surprise. Started off slowly, but then, man, they just poured it on. Beat the Steelers 42-21. And right now the Rams are blanking the
friends over to watch,
blanking the Cardinals 21-0. But game I want to focus on. So what we're going to do is Daniel's got a couple highlights. We're going to show the 49ers beat the Cowboys 23-17, and we've got actually the first highlight clip I want to show is going to be at the end of the game. It's a couple minutes long. If you didn't see the finish, Dan, let's go ahead and play that clip, and then we'll come back out, and I want to talk a little bit more about that.
Plays if they kept him in bounds.
Well, you keep him in bounds now.
The game's over if they keep him in bounds. Dak has to get this out of bounds, or he's taking a shot to the end zone. This is scary, because I would take a shot to the end zone here when they're in the sideline defense, because you actually can hold on to the ball. You need someone, San Francisco, to get to the quarterback here.
Prescott takes off running the football. Whoa, I don't think this is going to work out.
Well, they'll be able to clock this. They were playing for it. It's down. Oh, my gosh.
The official gets in the way. The game's over.
Gosh.
The game is over.
Oh, he did.
Oh, they're going to look at this.
It's going to be over, because the umpire has to touch the ball. Of course, that's ridiculous for a game to end like that, Jim. Wow, I am livid if I'm a Cowboy fan and if I'm a Niners fan.
That's the end of the game. The game is over. The game is over, and San Francisco survives and advances.
So there you have it. If you did not see the end, I mean, that was the end. And that was Tony Romo was giving the color analysis there. And, again, if you can't be upset, at the referees. Bottom line is, and you saw that, and actually I should have continued to let you play that, Daniel, because you see, actually go ahead and if you can continue to play that while I'm talking, because you see the replay on the line just coming in. He's running in, trying to he's got to tap the ball, as I said. So situation like this here, kind of take a look. You can see you can go full screen on that. You see the referee there touching the ball. But what has to happen is, now the Cowboys didn't have any timeouts. And they the 3 previous plays, they have run out patterns, completed the pass, got out of bounds, getting down, toward, but they had to get in the end zone. They're down 7, a 3 wouldn't do it. And that last play, again, trying to get in a position where it's not as much of a Hail Mary, but you can run a regular play, which I think was great. Dak, made a great, decision. I mean, it was wide open, but man, you got to get this. So I think it's the line judge has to come in and he has to touch the ball. And you saw the referee sprinting down, and ran into Dak Prescott and tried to tap the ball. Here's my thing, is that fans were, this is the challenge I have. People were booing, throwing stuff on, and we have a little bit of clip. And I think this was shot from a fan's phone, and it's only about 8 or 9 seconds. But Dan, go ahead and play that where the fans are throwing. Yeah, you see that there. Referees walking off. Cowboy player gets hit right there. And it just, come on, and that just replays a couple times. You can come back out of that. But there's no. I'm sorry, I just don't have any patience, for that kind of nonsense. I get it. You're upset. It happens, but I mean, the referees made the right call. Number one. Number two, the official who had to touch the football was sprinting down there, trying to get down there. There's only so much you can do. But again, the Cowboys are out of timeouts, and I believe the clock stops while they reset the chains, or supposed to for a quick second or whatever. But I think the referees made the right call. I think the bigger thing in that football game is that the Cowboys, started off slow, started coming back, but they had 14 penalties in that ball game. 14 for 89 yards. You can't win a football game. You make that many mistakes, and you can again blame the striped shirts or not, but they just didn't get it done. So I think that was probably the biggest surprise. Cowboys had a great season, and America's team, and I think people were expecting them to advance. And 49ers just came out and played. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, and from a total yards, it was pretty evenly balanced, in terms of total yards. Each team had over 300. I think one of the biggest differences, the 49ers kind of controlled the ground game, and they controlled the clock. They had the ball for over almost 34 minutes. So not a huge difference there, 33, 57, and 26 minutes. So what is that, 8-ish minutes, that they had the ball more than Cowboys. So not a big deal there. But anyway, so again, going back to kind of the playoff picture now. So you've got going next week, the divisional round, you got the Bengals playing the Titans. Titans had some rest, and I believe Derrick Henry is back, I think. And that's going to be huge if Tennessee's got Derrick Henry back, in the backfield, and he has healed or quickly, and they expect him to be back, I think. 49ers going to Green Bay to take on the Packers. So those are Saturday games. And, if I'm not a betting man, but I go back to the Bengals game. The Bengals over the Raiders 26-19, and Joe Burrow, I wasn't sure how good he would be as a pro, but I don't want to say he's exceeded expectations, but he can play. He can play. So that's going to be a great game. And then on Sunday, the Buccaneers with an opponent to be determined, and that obviously will be the winner of tonight's game between the Rams and the Cardinals. Will go into, or will play Tampa Bay, and then the Bills and the Chiefs. So it's winding down quickly. 8 teams after tonight's game. 8 teams remain. No, that's not right. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And again, if I'm a betting man, Cincinnati and Tennessee, I'm going to go with Tennessee, especially if Derrick Henry's back. If Derrick Henry's not back, okay, then I think it's a toss-up. Packers and 49ers. I used to be a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and the whole thing with him lying about the vaccine, being vaccinated against COVID and what have you. And, my thing is this: I may not agree with individuals that are having trouble, going and getting vaccinated and what have you. But that's their business, all right. But be a man and stand up and be honest about it. And he didn't, and that just for me, he goes from, again, I was a fan of his to he's on my list. But with that said, I don't care. The man can still play the game. And so you got, I'm picking the 49, or rather the Packers over the 49ers. So Titans, provided Derrick Henry's back, over the Bengals, Packers over the 49ers. Buccaneers and, Tampa Bay is, it's tough to bet against Tom Brady, and they have just been, they've been good. And so regardless of Rams or Cardinals, right now Rams leading, there's a couple minutes left, it looks like, in the half. Rams leading the Cardinals 21-0. I'll reserve that to the fact that we'll see who wins that one. Now I'll say that, either one, I think it's going to be the Buccaneers. And then Chiefs and Bills, I think it's going to be a good game. But, man, the Chiefs just, again, man, Patrick Mahomes, I think he threw, I think they said in the shortest amount of time, 5 touchdown passes, in the least amount of time over a period of time when he threw his touchdowns. And they just kind of exploded exploded yesterday. And, so anyway, we'll see next week. With that said, one of the interesting things, a couple things I want to do before we finish up. One is, it's always fun to take a look, and I was kind of doing some research here, as much as you can call, and going on the internet and typing in today's date, history, what has happened. But 1960, listen, it's on January 17th, 1960 was the 10th NFL Pro Bowl. It was at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Western Conference beats the Eastern Conference 38-21. Your MVPs, both from the Baltimore Colts, Johnny Unitas, Johnny U, and Big Gene Lipscomb. And so those were the MVPs. In 1961, the 11th annual NBA All-Star Game. And it was in, Onondaga. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't even know if that's Onondaga County Coliseum in Syracuse, New York. The West beat the East 153-131. MVP, the Big O, Oscar Robertson. He was at that time the youngest, and I don't know if he still is the youngest player to receive the All-Star MVP honor. He's 22 years old. He had 23 points, 14 assists, and you talk about Mr. Triple Double. That is him. A couple of other notables on this date in history. In 1970, 357 players available in the free agent draft. And obviously you have Kurt Flood to thank for that. Also 1970, the 9th AFL All-Star Game. So you remember, it used to be the AFL, American Football, well, NFL, that NFL was the big dog in AFL. And, it was just when Joe Willie Namath led the Jets over the Colts. And that really gave the AFL your credibility big time. Ninth AFL All-Star Game in the Astrodome. The Western Division beat the Eastern Division 26-3. And the back then LA Chargers quarterback, sound familiar? John Hadle. How many of you remember that name? He was the MVP of that. Going down a few more in sports history on this date, 1970, Sporting News named Willie Mays as the player of the decade in the 1960s. So he was that guy. Super Bowl V in 1971, Baltimore beat Dallas 16-13. And get this one, you're going to love this. The 1977 NFL Pro Bowl game was played nowhere else other than the Seattle Kingdom. AFC beat the NFC 24-14. MVP, Steelers cornerback. Can you guess it? Yeah, that's right. Mel Blount. All right. If you don't know, look him up. Mel Blount was the man. Let's see. I'm going to a couple more here, and then I want to go in and finish out as we take a look at Dr. King on this day that we set aside to honor him. 1988 AFC Championship game. Broncos beat the Browns 38-33. Featured the infamous the fumble Browns, Ernest Biner at the Denver 3-yard line with 1:12 left to go in the ball game. And looking through here, just want to see if there's any. 1989 Phoenix Suns, on this date, Phoenix Suns canceled the game at Miami Heat due to racial unrest in Miami. And 1994, Patrick Ewing becomes the first New York Knickerbockers player to reach, and they got a picture of him. I'm looking at him in the Sonics. You remember he finished, I think he finished his career, but he was certainly here for briefly. Patrick Ewing becomes the first New York player to reach the 15,000 point mark in his NBA career, scored a game high 34 in the Knicks' 106-94 win over Minnesota. And let me give you just a couple more. And I'm sorry. 1997 NBA suspends Dennis Rodman on this date, January 17th. Suspends Dennis Rodman indefinitely for kicking a cameraman. Dennis Rodman, I tell you what, for all the antics, all the crazy stuff, arguably one of the greatest rebounders and competitors in the ball game. You go back in his career when he was at Detroit, early, when he was at Detroit, before he kind of went off his path and kind of went, but in a kind of way, I'll say, went eccentric on us. But you talk about a rebounding machine, and if you've heard him talk about it, Dennis Rodman talks about he would study, his teammates and from their shot, the arc of the ball, the trajectory, and where it would bounce. I mean, people think, athletes, it's just all brute, all muscle, and what have you. There's a lot of strategy, a lot of research, a lot of studying, a lot of time put in them. There's so much of it that is mental. People just really, really don't understand. Last couple, let's see what I want to share here. 2012 on this date, LeBron James becomes the youngest player in NBA history to record 20,000 career points during the Heat's 92-75 win over Golden State. He was 28 years old, 17 days past Kobe Bryant, who had been the youngest to reach that point. Kobe was 29 years old, 122 days old. LeBron did it 28 years old, 28 years and 17 days. So just a few fun facts for this date. As we finish up, I want to just share, and I want to finish the last couple of minutes of the show, and I'll have a minute or so coming back, but want to play a couple of minutes, an excerpt out of what I think is arguably one of the greatest speeches, if not the greatest speech in history, which is a Martin Luther King, the I Have a Dream speech. And, as the story goes, and you can hear it if you listen to, you actually can get it, listen to his speech. He starts out and he really isn't talking about the dream. And the speech is not necessarily dull, but it's just not, it's not grabbing you like I Have a Dream did. And you can hear the great gospel singer, Mahalia Jackson, in the background. She said, tell him about the dream, Martin. So she said, tell him about the dream. And he kind of shifts, and we're going to play that for you in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to give you a couple minutes. I went on, and people, quote on this day, and I will say this as an African American, as a Black man in America, I think that it's great that we set aside the day to recognize Dr. King, and big thank you to Larry Gossett, Eddie Rye, and others, but Larry Gossett in his role as a King County councilman really spearheaded the charge where King County was renamed for Martin Luther King County, the only one in the nation, I believe in the world, named after him, a municipality like that. So that's pretty special. But I think it's important. We recognize Dr. King and others. Dr. King was kind of the face of the civil rights movement. A lot of other things happened as well. A lot of other people. But he, one of the most notable and just a phenomenal orator, but some great quotes. And I just want to read a few of the quotes. And I looked up and found, like, for Oprah, it's like the Oprah Daily, and her top 22 is from her top 22 quotes. But one of them, love is the greatest force in the universe. It is the heartbeat of the moral cosmos. He who loves is a participant in the being of God. Another one, intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. And I like this one here. And we talk about justice in one that, and she may have pulled this out. I can't remember. I didn't look through all 22 before I came out of the air, but injustice anywhere, again, another quote of MLK's, injustice anywhere is a, threat to justice everywhere. I think I'm saying it right, but you get the point. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. And that, you think about that, is that don't give someone that kind of power, over you. And that's basically, what he was saying. Another one, and this is often quoted: darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. This from his speech, and we'll hear it: I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. How even in this day and age, we're still fighting for that. We really are. And for justice, for individuals that have darker skin. And it's sad that, but it's real. It's real. Let me give you a couple more. Then we're going to go into kind of the last couple minutes of that speech. Ultimately, a genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. How much or how relevant is that for our politicians today? Again, I'm going to read it. Ultimately, and these are quotes of Martin Luther King Jr., ultimately, a genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. And our politicians today, especially in Washington, looking for a vote and putting their job security and their quest for power over what is right. And the attack on voting rights, we talked about this earlier, it is threatening, literally threatening our democracy. And that's a scary thing. Looking at the last couple here that Oprah, the last one: we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. So some of the quotes from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, let's go ahead and play the last couple minutes of his I Have a Dream speech, and then we'll have a minute or so coming out of this.
With this faith, we will be able to transform the tangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of our children be able to sing with new meaning. My country tears of thee. We land of liberty of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring, and if America shall be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual: free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at
last. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We celebrate his life and legacy, and just some powerful, powerful words. If you haven't done this, just go online and type in "I Have a Dream" speech, the transcript or whatever, and just read those words. And they ring as loud today as they did back in 1963. And his use of words, and his unconditional commitment to making things better. And he and so many that have fought for the rights of not only Black people, but all people that are facing injustice and all people who have been discriminated against. He fought for so many people and so many causes. So with that, that's going to do it for this edition of Monday Night Sports. Join us next week. Again, we will be visiting with Times Seahawks beat writer Bob Condotta. And don't turn that dial. Don't change the station, whatever the case may be. Stay right here, because Lit Line is next with Granville, Pepe, Little O. They are here, right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And don't forget to join us Friday as we're at Rainier Beach for a doubleheader, both the boys and the girls taking on West Seattle. All that right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Until next week, I'm Dupe. Peace and God bless.